into the media, into business, into education, and into the streets.
Well, hello. I'm Janet Morana, Executive Director of Priests for Life. Welcome to Pro-Life Primetime News. Now, you might be saying to yourself, wait a minute. Leslie Palmer and Teresa Watson, normal anchors, told you last week, they wouldn't be here this week because they're traveling. You know, Teresa is out in California celebrating her little grandson Caden's first birthday, and Leslie is at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention, which is being held here in Orlando, Florida, with pro-life leader Frank Pavone. We're going to have a little information about that at the end of this broadcast, which there's exciting news about what was happening this week at NRB, as it's called, National Religious Broadcast. But first, let's talk about this week's news. Well, you might have seen the story of the Hunter Adjunct Arts Professor who attacked students, pro-life students, who were just tabling, giving out pro-life literature, and she actually cursed at them, used profanities, and then got so upset by their literature and their display, which, by the way, had little cute baby fetal models like this. They didn't have pictures of the victims of abortion or what abortion does to a baby, which I'm fine with showing anyway, but beautiful little fetal model like this. And of course, she violently destroyed their table by flinging the stuff at them and cursing and swearing. The ironic thing is, Students Life for America reported this weeks ago, early May this happened. But just this week, when did the story got out to the secular media? Like places like the New York Post, which is a big newspaper in New York, and of course Fox News. And two of the reporters from the New York Post actually went to this professor's home to question her. And what does she do? She comes again, opens her door of her apartment, screams and yells, and takes a machete to the one reporter's throat practically. Okay, so they leave. Now Hunter College finally comes out and says, oh, she's fired. But a few weeks ago, when it was just the students being attacked, flinging the table, they just kind of said, oh, well, we're investigating. It took to her holding a machete to a reporter's throat, practically, that now they fired her. Now, Hunter College, just so you know, brothers and sisters, because I'm from New York, I can tell you the story. It's a public college right there in New York City, funded by the taxpayer dollars of New York. They're paying for this. And you know what? This should scare you all. You know why? Many of you are sending your children off to college, especially, coming up in the fall. And you got to understand, a Christian, Catholic, pro-life student, they are marginalized in these public universities. They're no longer a place of free thinking. So buyer beware. And like I said, a cute little unborn baby, fetal models they're called. That's what they had. And so pro-life literature. And this professor went ballistic. Well, glad Hunter finally woke up and fired them. But, it shouldn't happen from the first place. They should be able to give their pro-life position and opinions on campus. Okay, next in the news, next item. Out in Oregon. As we know, it's a deep, deep blue state. And believe it or not, what they're trying to do is pass a bill, let me just get it straight here now, that any child can be taken off, meaning at any age, can be taken for an abortion without the parents' consent. Imagine that, okay? And we're talking, they have had young girls taken off for abortions, sometimes by sexual predators, as young as 10 years old. So this bill in Oregon, if the state legislature passes it, will allow, of course, abortion till birth, but no parental consent. Parents of Oregon, beware, your parental rights are being taken away. And here's what you can do, though, is for nearly 3 weeks now, the Republicans and independent lawmakers have denied a quorum in the Oregon Senate and have blocked action on this pro-abortion bill. The Senate rules require 2/3 of lawmakers to be present to vote on legislation. So now what's going to happen? By the end of June, and I believe it's June 25th, they'll come back into session to vote on this bill. So what's the action? Whether you live in Oregon, but if you know someone in Oregon, you need to contact Oregon Senate lawmakers and urge them to oppose this radical bill. Kills the baby, destroys young girls, and takes away your parental rights. So Oregon people, buyer beware what's happening in Oregon. Then there's a beautiful story. Sad, yes. But parents, Nicole and Austin LeBlanc from Michigan, their first child, they found out it's going to be not one, but two, twins. But the sad news is sometime into the pregnancy, by about 10, 12 weeks, they discovered these little babies were what they call conjoined twins, which means they shared some of the same organs together. Now, what did the doctors do? As always, they pressured them to abort these babies. Being good, faithful Catholics, they said, we are going to put the lives of our baby daughters in the hands of God, let God decide. And so she carried the babies, and they were delivered, of course, premature. But the beautiful thing is they got to hold those babies for at least an hour before they passed. They named them Rachel Claire and Maria Therese, and they got them not only baptized, but confirmed. So we have these little angels now, little saints in heaven. But you know, brothers and sisters, the sad thing about this story is, you know, this couple, Nicole and Austin LeBlanc, they were strong and brave, and they had their deep Catholic faith. And they said, no, we're not going to abort these babies. We're going to carry this pregnancy as far as long until she went into labor, and then we'll see what happens. Well, they got to hold those babies for an hour, precious time. And they both parents said they would never give up that time together with those children. So that's a beautiful story, how they let God decide. They did it God's way. And you know something? There's a lot of people who are put in the same situation. I want to make you aware of a resource you can turn to. It's called perinatal hospice. Perinatal hospice. You can look it up on the internet. This is a way, like this beautiful couple did, where you make a birth plan. They get behind the couple and help them. And then other members of the family, like in this case, it was their first child, but were there other siblings, they would have been allowed to come to the hospital and see their baby sisters. Clergy are called there to the delivery. So like in this case, they were baptized and confirmed. It's a beautiful way to have a proper goodbye. And now they had a proper burial of those babies. And brothers and sisters, this is the way to do it, God's way. So again, congratulations to Nicole and Austin LeBlanc standing up for life. And I hope in the future you have other children, but many, many blessings on you for being strong enough to go against the medical profession and do what was in your heart as parents, what was best for those beautiful little baby girls. Okay. And finally, of course, Leslie Palmer-Samancic, our Director of Communications, is not here co-anchoring the news because she is with pro-life leader Frank Pavone at the National Religious Broadcasters Conference. So let's take a look. I know they just sent us a clip from that convention. Let's take a look.
Okay, friends, we're here with an update for you from National Religious Broadcasters. Alveda King is here. We just finished the breakfast, sponsored by Bout Radio Network. We always go to that. And they gave me this nice award. It's the for faithfully following the call on your life to rescue the least of these, whatever the cost. So I was very privileged to get this award from our friends at Bout Radio, with whom we've collaborated for decades. Alveda, this whole conference is going very well, isn't it?
The conference is going so well, and folks, Father Frank always says we go from glory to glory. The battle is already won by Christ, so we have to proclaim these truths. And our speaker at the award ceremony today said they're doing so much in California, you won't hear it on the national news, but because they're ballot collecting and things like that. So the Christian would say, oh, let Jesus took care of that. I don't have to vote. I don't have to do anything. But no, we proclaim the truth to the young people, to every generation, every decade. Father's been doing this a long time. I've worked with him myself for many, many years. And Leslie's here with us. She's in communications at Priests for Life. So getting this message out is so important, and it's appropriate to give honor where honor is due. Father Frank was honored today. Just recognize, and that encourages us to continue to fight, to continue to go on, because we have won. We are occupying the victory, and the battle belongs to us for life.
And in this conference, Leslie, as you can attest, many interviews we've been able to conduct day by day.
20 interviews probably.
Radios, podcasts, television, every sort of thing. And the people are all very appreciative of the work for life, the pro-life movement, the exhibits. I mean, what is it, like 4,000 people here?
Absolutely.
And a couple of hundred,
more, maybe even more.
a couple of hundred exhibits. Yeah. And we've gone to every single exhibit booth. And the creativity of the Holy Spirit is something that always strikes me at these conferences. Every conceivable way of conveying the Word of God. What's that thing, Leslie, we saw, the solar-powered audio Bible. I mean, everything.
I need to go see that.
Everything you can imagine. So God's people are responding to His Spirit, coming up with new ways to proclaim the Word. And as we've been emphasizing here, that gospel is the gospel of life. So thank you all for your commitment. Thank you, Alvita and Leslie, and to all our Priests for Life family.
Thank you.
Well, wasn't that exciting? And of course, Father Pavone received the Faithful Servant Award from Bot Radio. Do you realize that Bot Radio was formed in 1962? And they have they have 120 stations all across America in over 14 states. They were founded by a good friend of our ministry, Dick Bott, and now his son Richard is the CEO and head of Bot Radio. So I want to say a big thank you to Bot Radio for giving Frank Pavone that beautiful award. And again, stay tuned because there's always news to report on. And remember, brothers and sisters, you got to be in it so we can win it for the unborn. Get informed, pay attention here, because there's some stories you're only going to hear about at Pro-Life Primetime News. Next week, Teresa and Liz will be back with you. But until now, Janet Morena, Executive Director of Priests for Life. Thank you, and God bless.